And welcome back to the Aviation Podcast. I'm Ken. Yes, we have some stories for you you're going to be interested in. I promise. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Starting over here at avweb.com, we have another article about Southwest. Now, it just seems like Southwest keeps popping up in the news. Let's see what it says here. It says Southwest Airlines again suffers delays. Equipment issues have been cited. It seems that CNN and multiple other news outlets are reporting that 1,820 Southwest Airline flights were delayed on April 18th when the airline said that data connection issues resulting from a firewall failure led to a temporary ground stop. That was on April 18th. April 19th, according to an 11:10 a.m. FAA tweet, because I guess that's where the FAA is putting all their news now, this morning Southwest Airlines experienced a technical issue with one of their internal systems. At the airline's request, the FAA paused Southwest departures as they resolved the issue. The pause has been lifted and their service has resumed. Now, it says here, a Southwest spokesman, Dan Lanson, said in a statement, early this morning, a vendor-supplied firewall went down and the connection to some operational data was unexpectedly lost. And according to FlightAware, the 1,820 flights delayed as of noon today represented 43% of Southwest scheduled operations. Now, that was for the 18th, and then today, the 19th, it turns out they had another all-company stop on their aircraft. So, I don't know what's happening with Southwest. If I get any information, we'll be sure to pass it along to you. And if there's anybody out there who happens to know what is going on with Southwest, please feel free, share with us, comment below. All right, we'll move along over here. Oh, yeah, here's the Twitter page. Over in the Twitter's verse, that sure enough, right there, the FAA this morning, Southwest Airlines experienced a technical issue with one of their internal systems, and at the airline's request, the FAA paused Southwest departures as they resolved the issue. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff what you can find out there in the interwebs. All right, we're going to go on to our next article. We're going to go over to the West Coast, over to LA, Los Angeles. Now, this news article actually came up a few days ago, but it didn't make a whole lot of headlines, probably because of the event. But, of course, for us here at the Aviation Podcast, what are we interested in? Oh, you better believe we're interested in that giant helicopter, that Sea King, sitting down there in the middle of the road. And thank you, Live 5 Action Helicopter, to give us a zoomed-in view of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Sea King sitting in the middle of a road. We'll go over here to NBCLosAngeles.com, and the article describes this as a gunman was gone hours after the supposed standoff at West Hollywood Apartments. In the article, it goes on to describe how the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department was called in because of what was an alleged shooter. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said that it started around 8:50 a.m. when two bullets pierced the wall of a woman's apartment, striking her in the upper and lower body. The shooter was supposedly holed up in the apartment, but when SWAT officers entered around 5 p.m. in the afternoon, all they found were dogs. I hope the dogs didn't have the gun. My goodness. It says here, a person of interest was identified as that person, and the shooting was on this. You know what? I'm not really interested in that part. What I'm really interested in is that big helicopter back there, folks. That is really neat to see that giant helicopter there. And this is what Los Angeles Sheriff's Department use to transport their SWAT people from time to time. And I thought this was such a neat story that I just had to look up more information on this helicopter. And guess what? You can find more information on this helicopter, or at least the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department using these helicopters, over here at ainonline.com. Now, this article was, it's from last year, April 2022. It says the NTSB, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Super Puma, crashed in a brownout. And if you go on to read the story, they were attempting to rescue some hikers and incidentally had a brownout there at the rescue site. And luckily, there were no additional injuries. Nobody nobody had died in the accident or anything like that. There were minor bumps and bruises, but overall, everybody came out okay. So that's an interesting story. And then another interesting story over here at thecrimereport.org. It says here, and this was an article from 2017. It says, the strange case of the sheriff's missing helicopter engines. It is a strange case indeed. And I'm not going to cover the whole thing in this video here. In fact, this particular story deserves its own video, and we may do that at some point. But essentially, the engines were supposed to get sent back, and they never arrived. The engines went missing. There was some issues there. Anyhow, nobody was charged with a crime, and yet a couple of Sea King helicopter engines go missing. Now, that seems like a story to me. But anyhow, if you got some time, it is certainly a good read. All right, we're going to go ahead and move over to our next article. We're going to find this one over here at aircargonews.net. Aircargonews.net. FedEx pilot strike woes continue. FedEx could soon be under pressure to keep its freighters in the air, with pilots considering strike action. FedEx Express pilots, represented by the Airline Pilots Association International, ALPA, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, have announced that the voting window for a strike authorization ballot will open on April 18th. It says here that the mediated negotiations for a new employment contract for the pilots have failed to produce an industry-leading agreement, stated the union ALPA in a press release on April 14th. It says here, in February, the FedEx Express Master Executive Council of the Airline Pilots Association, ALPA, unanimously approved a resolution setting the stage for a strike authorization vote. Now, this is not necessarily new news, although so this has been going on since May of 2021. That these negotiations have been trying to bolster negotiations. Well, it turns out recently, here April 18th, that they have announced that there's going to be a ballot on a strike. So, interesting news. Now, certainly we hope that the union and FedEx can come together and figure something out to allow everybody to just go back to work. That's really all we're trying to do. We're trying to fly for hire. That's the point, right? FedEx needs to move shipment, and there are pilots who would love to fly this shipment from place to place. So we just want that to happen. Let's see here. It says here at the article down here, at a time when our pilots should be joining our company in celebration of its 50th anniversary, we are instead forced to apply additional pressure to management in an effort to secure a new contract, says Chris Norman, the chair of the FedEx ALPA MEC. We do not make a decision like this lightly, but we intend to send a strong and unified message to management that our pilots are willing to go the distance to achieve the contract we have earned. Well, let's hope they are successful in their endeavors. And sure enough, if you go over to alpa.org, the Airline Pilots Association International, you will see that, in fact, this is true, that they are looking to open the strike authorization vote. Let's hope that they all find some resolution and can move forward. We want everybody flying in the air, of course. All right, we're going to go on to our last article, and this last article should put a smile on your face. I know it did for me. Over here at flyingmag.com, the FAA is set to hire 1,500 air traffic controllers this year. Yes, that's what we want to hear. That's the good news right there. FAA stepping up and hiring 1,500 air traffic controllers. Now, certainly this is going to go to help everybody across the board. More air traffic controllers is good news for everybody. It says here in the article, ATC shortages have contributed to several delays and recent close calls, which have prompted the FAA to lay out guidelines reinforcing safety protocols. According to the National Air Traffic Controller Association, staffing levels are at a 30-year low, while 2 in 10 air traffic controller positions remain unfilled nationwide. That's not great. I can tell you that most of the pilots flying around who do interact with air traffic controllers want to have well-trained and air traffic controllers who have plenty of sleep, who aren't being overworked or underpaid for what they do. So certainly we are glad to see the FAA putting effort into this issue. It goes on to read, the 2023 application window for entry-level air traffic controllers will open May 5th through the 8th, so mark your calendars, as the FAA grapples with staffing shortages across the nation. The agency plans to hire roughly 1,500 controllers this year and another 1,800 next year. That's what I'm talking about. That's what needs to happen. As they are catching up on a pandemic-related training blockages. Says, according to the National Air Traffic Controller Association, NATCA, staffing levels are at a 30-year low. That's while 2 in 10 air traffic controllers remain unfilled. This is just is unbelievable, folks. It's unbelievable. I am certainly glad to see that the FAA is doing something about this and trying to get more air traffic controllers. And this is all to help the safety of our national airspace, which we all can get behind. It says here that the initial pay for a novice ATC controller is the minimum annual wage is $43,727 plus locality pay for the facility assigned to them. As they gain experience, salaries are increased based on multiple factors, and according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the national average wage for an air traffic controller is $120,830 a year, which is well above the average salary for all occupants. So, hopefully, we can see more air traffic controllers getting on the job, and these air traffic controllers are being paid a fair wage to keep them there and hire more air traffic controllers into the force. We are very excited to see this here at the Aviation Podcast. Our air traffic controllers are vital, and we certainly want our air traffic controllers to be compensated fairly for their work. All right, everybody, I hope that put a smile on your face. I was excited to see that. More controllers. Yes, we desperately need them. So, all right, everybody, we've enjoyed it. We hope you did too. If you like something you've seen, please share. Consider subscribing, or maybe just leave a like, or maybe some comments down at the bottom. And until next time, take care.